agenda, we have a guest, we do have our new trustee. Everybody has met, just check, so we're good. Welcome, George.
Thank you.
Previous minutes, did you print up some of those? Yeah. No? Okay. So George probably doesn't have them.
I have previous minutes of the special meeting on the 10th.
But I'm talking about the October meeting. So, any copies of that one?
I did.
Okay, we can start with that one.
Move on.
We can start with that.
Thank you.
So we met on the 10th. Michelle, John, myself, Mark, and Pam, to discuss the repair to the pergola and wrapping up the painting of the exterior of the building and our capital needs request for the town. The only people who can comment on the minutes are those that were there, unless it's just a straight up typo or something.
I couldn't remember who moved to adjourn, so I assumed it was John.
Yes, that sounds accurate. If I didn't, then I definitely second it.
I don't see anything jumping out at me that looks incorrect or misspelled or anything else.
It was a pretty quick meeting.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. We just went whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
We can motion to accept the minutes.
second,
I can second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone approve the minutes? Oh, the special.
Special.
Oh, okay. No, we didn't have those minutes yet, so. So minutes from October,
Do you have any other?
Maggie actually sent out immediately after the
They
meeting.
were
So-
sent.
She just said Maggie sent them out.
Was
Right
Maggie?
after- Yeah,
Yeah.
so October 23rd from Maggie.
Wait.
Did you misspell her name?
No, just, should George be marked as absent?
No, he wasn't sworn in yet. He wasn't been appointed yet.
Oh, that's right, because it was right before
It
that.
was before
Okay,
the
so
meeting when he
should-
was appointed, so he wasn't a trustee yet.
Yeah, so I don't know if we can mark him
So
absent.
no.
He
Oh,
wasn't
is he on there as
enrolled.
absent?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He wasn't enrolled.
All right.
And I approved the minutes, and now I wish I had.
Okay,
Can I move that we
we'll recall that and you can approve them as amended.
amended, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny, I was trying to remember, I was trying to calculate how close it was to that meeting to decide whether or not you could have been sworn in. Not realized it was actually.
Four, yeah. Right, so,
Did someone second? I'll second.
so
Sorry,
John,
was I out of turn to ask that?
No, you're fine. I don't think anybody has, so. All right, so everybody now has the minutes from the October 23rd meeting, I think.
There's still only 7 here. Joshua was
Absent.
absent.
So we need to add, oh, he's on there as absent. Oh, on this one, sorry. That's another amendment
On the
to the
special
special
one.
meeting. Josh was absent from that meeting.
No, he was there.
No, he was there. He's
Yeah.
not on there at all.
I'm sorry. I did these
He was there.
like 2 minutes. That's why I was late.
have several minor things in the October 23rd minutes.
Okay.
In the director's report, electronic materials, it's not MVLC, it's MLS and MBLC.
MLS and MV.
B is boy.
B. And B.
LC.
LC.
MBLC is Mass Board of Library Commissioners. MBLC is.
I'll try to call them like the BLC, so it's not too confused.
Okay.
And then the second line is also the BLC obligation. And I might suggest, and you can, this may or may not matter, but the packet that goes in the binder, the official minutes, includes my report.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you need to rewrite my whole report, you certainly can, but
Yeah, it would definitely save a lot of time putting it together to just say that, you know. we
I mean,
decided-
sometimes there is discussion and sometimes we're just kind of, you know,
Mhm.
I guess I'm not sure what warrants recording. And it's not Jay Carlins, it's Jake, Jake. Under hiring freezes lifted, we're hiring 2 substitute pages. And then just under that, I think you meant to say administrative assistant.
Did you get Rita's name?
I don't know.
And then the next.
Oh, Rhoda.
Yeah, it's Rita.
Rita.
Brochure.
And then on page 2, we talked about the Friends of the Library due dates letter. It's actually DO, DATS exclamation. And we kind of talked about like, what does that mean again? And then my final change is under outreach. Liz Valentine has expressed interest in working on the project for a small stipend. She actually wanted to volunteer. We may or may not have a stipend from the grant, but she's
willing to do
She's-
I
it.
would
yeah.
say she's just expressed interest in the project.
Right.
yeah.
I think I questioned whether or not we should put it in writing that she was willing to volunteer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It was completely happenstance. She was actually asking at town hall if they needed a volunteer for anything, and Sue Hazen knew we were talking about the database, so she sent her over here.
Does anybody have anything else?
Michelle indicated in writing that where it says the Tenney family grant, I should have included, it shouldn't really be, this on this, I didn't include it. But this shouldn't be considered the outreach subcommittee, it should be the Tenney family grant.
Well, I don't know, I think outreach met on it, but,
But Janet, you were included in that.
yeah, and I think I commented on it relative to the action items, because Janet, you weren't listed on the action items for researching that, and I think you know a lot more about all the topics that we've discussed than anyone else I know. Yeah, so it was more on the action items that you should be involved in that conversation.
Do you think it matters on the description of the change order and the painting budget? Do you want the exact figures or are estimates close enough?
Where are you looking
Under buildings and grounds overall,
It says overall, the painter's budget, 4,500 in additional work, though there's only 3,000 remaining in the budget.
it's actually 4750 and like 3, I'm not sure the other number.
You want to email it to me?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, it's whatever 20,000 minus 17,642 is.
20,000
that was-
minus 17,642.
Whatever that is how much is left I know that we need to contribute 2392, because that was in the other minutes.
2,358.
Sure.
That's right.
Anybody have anything else on the last month's minutes? Motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Next up. Garbage report.
Anybody need a copy? So our outreach measures are all good. CIRC is up 8.68%, and patron visits are up 6.19% month over month for October. Um, Sure, quickly. 177 songs were downloaded by Frigo, 32 audiobooks were downloaded, 43 ebooks were downloaded, 33 Kindle books were downloaded, and 18 museum passes were used in the month of October. The meeting rooms were used a total of 55 times. The computers were used 1,413 times, and our website was visited from outside our building 1,202 times. And I'll just clarify that, I'm sure George and maybe some of you others don't know, that we use Google Analytics to count our computer usage. So if someone goes to rallylibrary.org, inside this building, we have a special homepage set up that they automatically go to versus people who are using computers outside this building. And that's how we count that statistic that we have to report to the Board of Library Commissioners. So we know that it's a little bit inaccurate because if someone goes to use a computer and only uses an Office product and never opens a web browser, they don't get counted. Conversely, a person who opens 10 windows might get counted 10 times. So it's not
Exact science.
exact, but it's the best.
But it's consistently inconsistent.
Right, it's the method we've chosen to use.
We've talked about that as well with the patron counter, because we know the patron counter is a little bit off, but it's always been off, so at least the numbers are consistent year to year. So we are looking at getting a new one, but for a while, they're gonna be weird if they are accurate.
Right,
Right.
right, yeah. And that just as an aside, that's why I have on September's patron count, I have those 851 voters off to the side, because putting those in are just gonna skew.
Next year's numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So they will get counted in the official end of year statistics, but I'm not putting them in the monthly official. Yeah. If we were having more elections here, I would. A lot of people came expecting to vote on the November election.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Did they really? Because they
At
decided.
least it's just across the street.
Right.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
that way, so that's good.
Easiest I can recall.
They had very high numbers.
Moving on from statistics to programs, the Backyard Chickens Talk was very well attended. Patrons were very engaged. Many of them already had or were considering having chickens.
I don't know if that's available on.
I haven't looked to see yet. They were here taping it, so it's just a matter of if it's been edited and posted yet. Sorry, I try to remember to put the links in the report. So, as anyone who's watching Raleigh Community Media knows, many of our programs are aired multiple times, and they can also be streamed online. The J. Carlin's meditation class had 5 attendees.
And can you remember from past years, is that up or down?
That's typical.
That's about what he gets.
Yeah, that's about what he gets. We have a couple exciting things coming up for the holidays that the Friends have sponsored. Amy's just working on the press today for it. Velveeta Theater Company is going to perform a Christmas Carol. If you don't know them, they're fabulous. They do all kinds of, they do a lot of historical reenactments. They do Lizzie Borden and Jack the Ripper and
And they're doing the whole Christmas Carol production? in the
well, there's
story?
only 3 people.
So,
So I don't know how they it's called like a dramatic reading.
oh, they're, oh.
I don't think they're reading the whole thing.
Do you know?
They have a website if you want to go and look at what they do, or
That's
come
right.
on the 6th. I can't either actually.
Everything's going on in the 6th. Do you know what time this is?
1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock.
Yeah, is that the day of the Pine Grove Fair? It is.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
I
yes,
guess
yes.
it'd be interesting, it'd be nice to be able to capitalize on that somehow.
Yeah. And we are going with registration on that, and it feels like it could be a big draw, so we're gonna.
Registration.
And they take up a lot of space. Or whatever they do, I don't know if they have props or costume changes or whatever, but we had to measure out, like they're taking up a lot of space, so Amy was gonna figure out, she had the tape measure and everything, and she was measuring the chairs and how many would fit, so I don't know if she settled on 40 or 50, but yes, yeah.
And the kissing balls are limited to 15?
15.
So that's registration.
And that's because that's how we figured 2 people per table, on 1 table for the instructor, and that's kind of all you can do. In addition to that, there is a materials fee for the kissing ball, which we've never done before. And the Friends are actually going to subsidize part of it. They're charging us $15 per student in addition to the fee to come and teach the class. But the Friends said, well, we'll pay $5 out of that, and the guests only pay $10.
So they're paying for the staff person to come,
Yes.
plus $5 each.
Yes.
The cost per attendees is $10.
Yes. And they felt that, you know, to buy a kissing ball, you're going to spend $30, so that was probably fair.
Very fair.
And there's a remaking class going up previous to that.
Really?
Where's the remaking class?
In addition to that, I don't often include children's programs on here, but the children's room has been doing these after-school clubs for different age groups, one on Monday and one on Thursday, and they're getting some good draw. And I reminded of that because they're doing. She just put the picture up on Facebook. It's like when you take clothespins and make a wreath and you paint them, but they're also to hold your cards.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Is the children's room also doing Polar Express this year?
Yes. And that's on a Thursday. I don't know exactly when.
That's always such a
But you'll post
I
it
hope
on
we have a
Facebook
TV by
page.
then. We might not.
John?
We still have John's TV. John's loaner TV.
Sorry, I was reading something else there.
But as soon as we get it back to him, he has to do some construction and renovation, so, right, isn't that why you're?
Oh,
Not
no,
in a
I
rush.
gotta move the big, old one down and properly dispose of it.
Use it for recycling.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
it
this
was
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh, okay.
No,
You know, why
yeah,
are we waiting
yeah.
until we know we don't need it anymore?
But
I
it's,
don't see it on
it's
Twice.
Oh, she hasn't scheduled,
46
sorry.
inches is the limit.
I can see it
Old
when I walk
twos.
in, as me.
I'll have to see.
The good
It's
news
pretty-
is
could be,
John's not a keeper.
could be close. Might be bigger than a half.
Break out.
And then the Friends also approved funding for a Cole Porter presentation that we're going to schedule after the new year. We do have a date on the author group, I believe it's January 29th. And in addition to Siglinda wanting to talk about Social Security, one of the people from Mass Audubon sent us his card saying he'd love to come and do something I guess Rowley and Audubon have a good relationship lately. They've had some partnerships, and
They-
Bill Getty, do you know
Bill
him?
Getty,
Yeah.
yeah, and we, Rowley and Mass Audubon jointly own Rec Meadows up in
Mhm.
Monet.
So we're definitely gonna give him a call as well.
Nice.
I'm sorry, how do I know that?
He also has
Not a speaker from, potential speaker from the Audubon, and what was the other thing?
Siglinda's in the.
Okay, and just the social security,
Yeah.
that's two children.
She was a financial analyst, a financial advisor. She sold her practice and left, moved back to town. So she's pretty versed in that stuff.
Yes, yeah.
She's rebuilding her practice. She's the secretary of the Friends Group.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And she's very passionate about social security. She said people sign up without knowing how to sign up, and they miss out on a lot of money that they could
Yeah.
use. Yeah.
Mm.
And I guess you only get one chance to do it. Because I said to her, well, wouldn't this be more appropriate for seniors? And she's like, no, because they've already done it. Yeah.
When you talk to Bill Getty from the Audubon, they also have a kids whale program that I've been trying to get a meeting, but they're so busy.
Maybe as you
So I'm trying to get
advertise.
a meeting with them, so you might want to mention to them that we're doing that too.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting. Maybe as you advertise, rather than saying social security, which people would automatically think this is for people with social security, retirement planning
Mm-hmm.
instead.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. And when we did a financial literacy series a few years ago, it was very well attended. Michelle had kind of ran with that program.
Yes. I'm trying to remember, because we had the estate planning too, which was just crazy. The
Mhm.
room was filled, it was literally standing room only, people sitting in the aisles, it was crazy. For estate planning.
Maybe we should have that again.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, especially if it was 2 years ago.
I'm trying to remember who did the retirement planning.
She did that one twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought so.
And got like 15, 20 people the
Right,
second
each
time she
time.
did it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Staff updates, we had 12 candidates for the library technician position, actually 13 came in today. We do have a preferred candidate out of the 5 that we interviewed. We're checking references now, so stay posted on that. We have not yet posted the 2 substitute page positions. And that actually comes from Debbie Egan, our town administrator, personnel officer. And I know she had so much to do after the special town meeting, I didn't want to bug her for something that's not really time sensitive. We're excited to announce that the Friends of the Library are going to solely sponsor this year's staff appreciation luncheon. I feel like the first year the trustees and the Friends did it together, and last year maybe the trustees did it
I think we
themselves.
pretty much did it ourselves
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah. So, and they're taking us out to Bradford Tavern rather than doing the potluck slater thing that we did here
Which
in
was
this.
lovely.
Which was lovely. So I'm starting to get, they have 2 tentative dates scheduled. It's the 2 weekends before and after the Martin Luther King Day weekend. So it's like the 10th and the 24th, I think. If anyone has a calendar up handy, you know. So I'm just waiting to hear back from the staff on who, you know, if there's any conflicts
It's a Saturday. it's
on
the
those
10th, the
2
20th.
Saturdays. And then the Friends had kind of said that they wanted to keep it just staff, and Janet and I kind of said, well, it was so nice when the trustees came and everybody sort of intermingled, but then the Friends are buying lunch, so Janet suggested a compromise that if Friends and trustees want to go, maybe they pay for their own lunch.
Right. Rich Tim said he thought
And
that was a good idea.
I don't think that's been officially decided yet, but it was sort of under discussion still. Did you,
Tim replied that he agreed that he thought it was a good idea.
yeah.
I think he's trying to limit, because he mentioned specifically Friends officers, so I think he really wants it to be about the staff. He really, you know, but my comment to him was, I'm fine whatever the Friends decide, but if people are willing to pay, because I also don't think the Friends need to be taking us out to lunch. If people are willing to pay for their own lunch, I think it is a great time for staff and trustees and Friends to casually chat. It's not an official, you know. And it
always
always
you
has
don't
been.
necessarily ever cross paths with everyone. I'm
Exactly.
sure there's
I'm not
staff who
here
doesn't know
today.
who you are, and you
No.
don't know who staff is, so.
And when,
So-
2 years ago, when we first discussed it, that was sort of the point, to get everyone, including Friends and trustees, all in the same room, all sort of on the same page and meeting each other and.
And just because, not for any official business of any sort.
Right, just purely
And to
social.
let the staff know that the trustees also appreciate all their work.
Right. So once we know the date, we can look into that. I asked Tim, and he said he estimated, he's guessing completely at this point, but he figured probably $20 or so, 20, 30, depending on if you want to drink with lunch or not.
Yeah, he wasn't sure if we were gonna have a special menu or order off the menu or,
Because there's the upstairs room.
that's
where
reserved
the
the function room,
room.
yeah.
It's a
And
function
nice,
room
but then
within.
you just walk right in, there's
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they did waive the fee, given that we're a nonprofit.
So, more to come on that.
But I'm getting good feedback so far. And then a little bit of continuing education to report on. Hermine and Anna and I went to a workshop on social media called Only Write It Once. And it was about the different messages using blog, using Facebook, using Twitter, using an email newsletter, and how the different, I mean, it was sort of time savers and also, what's appropriate for the different audiences. It was really good. We learned a lot of tips. And we had lunch afterwards, which it's just so nice to
Have a conversation.
Yeah, just get together and have food and
Chat.
yeah. And then Amy was able to go to professional promotions. That was in Middleton, and that was more than your online promotions. It was your press releases and also ways to partner in the community, like, for example, the farmer's market or other sort of ways to get your message out there.
Do these events help you reach your, any of the goals that you had set in terms of training? Or is this kind of?
What we were talking about with the action plan was maybe getting more of the staff to take advantage of the trainings that are out there. And it's a little more difficult now that it's MLS statewide and not the Northeast region, because you have to kind of wait a while for the things that you're interested in to come around to your region. Although, if there's something you wanted, you could ask them and they would schedule it in your region. But for now, we're mostly just keeping an eye out for what's, interesting and appropriate. But I do want to also get some customer service training, and that we might need to find a consultant on our own.
That's not what the ones they offer.
They
You could ask
do,
more.
yeah, they do, and I went to it the last time it was nearby, and I asked. The thing is, they can't really do just a staff training. They can do something for your region,
Yeah.
but you can't say, can you come into my library and give my 10 staff? Like for
But
whatever
we could
reason.
host a,
Yes.
But it would be more
But
it would be
generic
generic, for
training.
sure, yeah.
Right,
It would be
right,
the
right, right.
principles as opposed to implementing a new policy, because we first started talking about this when we created a new
yeah.
Customer service policy, which the staff has all seen, but we never really had the opportunity to really go over
Or to talk about
the
why
different
some
points
things-
and samples and examples and so on, yeah. Any questions?
Excuse me.
No. Oh, sorry.
Kind of forceful.
No. I was gonna say, since going to the training, I've been subscribing to a lot of the Facebook pages that they recommended with ALA and different things. And I do find the benefit of knowing what's going on, so I do recommend checking some of those out.
You sent us those, right?
Yes.
Can you forward to George?
Absolutely.
Maggie recently went to a new trustee orientation workshop, and she got a lot of resources that she shared with us.
A lot of discussion lately on net neutrality from a
Mhm.
library perspective, which I
Oh,
find
yeah.
very interesting
And scary.
and scary.
Yeah.
There'll be another one sometime if you're interested in going to one. It depends. We were lucky this time because it was actually in Newbury.
When did you go, Michelle? It was probably, it was a few
I think
years
it
ago.
was-
I don't
yeah, I
know
think
if
it
they
was
do
my
them
first
every
year.
year or not.
I'm not sure. It
Yeah.
seems like they say, but I went a long time ago. so I'm
I
not sure.
think I went I think shortly after Nancy became president of the Friends, because I remember there was a lot of conversation about friends and relationships with friends, and I was glad to meet Nancy. So I want to say for well, actually, she became president of the Friends, I think, right about the same time that I joined the board. I don't know.
That sounds right. Yeah.
2-3 years
until the food cost issue run. 2, 3.
Yeah, 2 years time.
Well, we're now 2 years without one, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been a while. Okay, so if there are no more questions on the director's report, do you have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept the director's report.
I'll second
All those in favor?
Second.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. The budget report, which Pam also sent around.
And why do we use so much leftover in fuel and gas?
Because we
just
haven't
during
really,
winter.
the heat just came on.
Because it starts in July.
Yeah, so I'll get, the gas bill comes out on the 25th of the month or thereabouts. So
Okay.
the last one we paid was October 25th, which
So it's just
you're
timing.
just turning your heat on at that point.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just timing, okay.
And we did get another light bill today that's not reflected in here. We're at about 57% remaining for the light bill, which is
Type.
not where I'd like to be, but the winter month, the bills are much smaller in the winter when we're not using air conditioning. So we'll have, 4 or 5 small bills and then a couple more big bills, yeah. And of course, we are open an extra 4 hours a week this fiscal year, so.
Make a difference. Starting in the hot months.
I was like, when did we start that?
That was
Did we do
July
it
1st.
So
Yeah.
right,
We
the whole
started.
year.
Yeah. Any other questions?
At town meeting, we did get approval on our sprinkler
Sprinkler
inspection.
inspection.
So
And I think-
we're outside of the budget.
The building committee was supposed to meet to discuss the 2 bids, and that did not happen. And the two references came from Joshua. So I mean, I might go back to him and say, of these 2 references that you got, who do you trust more? You know what I mean? Like, that might be the way to decide.
And the discretionary funds do not reflect painting, do not reflect the
The
repair of
painting,
pergola.
the painting budget is not in here, no.
But the additional funds that we took out of Jewett,
That is not reflected in here, yeah. I mean,
it's a small thing.
yeah, so after you guys had the meeting and agreed to pay MJS, that same week, myself, Amy Lyden, Deb Egan, and Bob Mary, and Mike, the Mike of MJS, we had walked around the building together. Nobody had any issues or problems to bring up, everything looked fine.
Let's see that on the action items from last month, just for the record. That they were supposed to be done right.
There wasn't any action on them.
I know that they were going to meet on the patron counter. Patron counter and the painting and joist replacement.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, that's all I see.
So should there have been something else there?
Maybe it was just said verbally in a meeting and not made it to the list.
I didn't remember that one being an actual agenda item, action item myself, but I certainly don't remember any moment.
I think someone said, well, maybe the building committee could make a recommendation on that. So, and then we also let Mike know that we approved the change order. He was leaving that meeting to go and order the beam immediately. It's coming from Canada, who knows, a week or 2. He said they can work in the cold, it's not a problem. They can't work in a storm or a blizzard or a rain, but they will work in the cold.
Will they paint in the cold?
I think
It's
it's
very
probably
suspect.
wait on the paint. I mean,
Yeah,
unless you get like a
springtime.
50-degree day, I'm sure they'll wait on the paint until spring.
Okay.
And is that all gonna be included in what we're paying them now? That they will come back in the spring and finish the job, but
Hopefully it doesn't come to
Whatever is
that.
on the quotation,
Yeah.
they need to honor.
Well, the change
But the
order,
change order.
is separate, yeah.
and are they going to leave us leftover paint?
I forgot to ask that, but I will. I have to look and see if it's in the bid specs that they're supposed to.
Or at least if we can get if I remember the bid specs, that they should say exactly this is the paint that we use, so we can go out and get more of it just in case.
And interestingly, when they were here the first day, they did do 3 sort of swatches, like, not swatches, but, you know, they put
Squares.
3
Yep.
kind of tones up there and said, okay, which is the right one?
Well, that's good. It just occurred to me that we couldn't have asked as an action item for last month because we didn't have approval of funds yet,
Oh,
so. We don't know if we were going to
So
do
do we
it
get
all.
an action item for next month?
What is it, the fire extinguisher?
No,
Fire inspection?
it's the sprinkler testing, we have,
So
right?
we have 2 different companies that could do it. That's what we're talking about?
yes, we looked at the 2 quotes last month. I'm sorry, I don't have them here. One was 2,400,
That's right.
and one was more like 1,400. But I also inquired of those 2 companies what they charge for their annual maintenance, their annual inspection, because we want to get rid of our current vendor. This is why we're
Right.
shopping around to new vendors. And the one that has the more expensive of the testing is like half as much for the annual inspection, like 700 versus 350. So
So let's have them do the inspection and figure out.
yeah,
who to cover it. Just to back up for a second, that beam, when you're talking to the Mike or whatever his name is there any danger of that thing falling off or blasting?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to do it to block it off.
you should look at it on your way out. There's
Yeah.
one.
Did you block it?
There's, you know, a foot or 2 that's rotten on either side. So the 2 beams come together, and then there's another beam on top of that. And unfortunately, there's also right resting on a column.
Hmm.
So where it wasn't flashed properly, and the water was just
Getting
pooling
into
there.
a joint,
Yeah.
Okay.
So both heads are sitting on the column, it's not like
Yeah.
hanging out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And we know the column
It should be, it should be done in a week or 2.
Yeah.
If there was any concern on anyone's safety, believe me,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be talking, you know,
It might be-
Yeah,
it's
just
not
the
all
way,
waterproof.
Just checking.
Yeah.
But we know that
Great
the
question.
column itself has no rot.
Right.
yeah, the column's fine.
it's like a Jenga thing. It's kind of like
You don't
it's
wanna
kind of like
lean
the
on
weight
it.
above it is actually supporting it from
Tweaking out.
either way. That, you know what I mean? I wouldn't, yeah. Wouldn't go
And they are
walking
planning,
on it or anything, but.
they are planning to do the work on a Friday, and hopefully it can be done in one day.
That's good, the crane and the
Yeah,
swinging
yeah,
beams
the noise and,
All right. Okay, is there anything else on the budget that needs to be pointed out or that anybody has questions on?
I move to accept the budget.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Anyone opposed? Okay, excellent, thank you. Moving on. To website updates, I just left that on there in case there was anything.
yeah, so I sent about a 2-page punch list to Jay Cammons, I think so night, of things that, nothing, not like typos and edits, we'll do that ourselves, but things like, no, this should be under here, and this should be on that page.
Yep.
And I haven't heard back from them yet, but they, as you know, this whole project with them, there's been
Ups and
delays
downs.
in communication, so.
Just out of curiosity, I know that we're asking for a finished product from them, but how difficult or tricky or whatever is it if we change our mind about where we want something located for you or whoever on the staff will be doing it?
The contract says that, you know, they'll give us full training,
Okay,
so.
cool.
And from what I understand, WordPress is very easy to learn if we had to, you know,
And didn't you say there's a Linda subscription?
yes,
So there's probably something on there too.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Pam had asked me to put the copier printer back on here. I'm a little afraid of this coming.
Okay, so it was a few months ago, we got the word that our current copier, which we purchased 10 years ago, I don't know if we purchased it new or used at that time, is now out of OEM, which is original manufacturer, whatever.
I can't remember what it actually stands
That-
for.
It's at end of life.
Yes, if something should happen to it, our service company cannot guarantee that we would be able to get parts to repair it. So I talked to Amy Lyden next door because I know that she has a contact at a different company And we got a quote from the state contracts for Cameron Office Products. And I believe we voted to buy a copier at about $3,500. There was just a couple of questions. One was, at that time, we had almost, a month earlier or 2 months earlier, just renewed our yearly service contract to the tune of $625. So I was going to call Copy Connection and see if they would refund that if we canceled the service contract. And the answer is no. He was also quite put out about possibly losing a customer, and I got quite an earful, and he wants to give us a quote, which I said, fine, but I haven't seen. The other thing, and we want to talk about capital needs tonight, is that, if our service contract goes through June 30th anyway, maybe we wait and put it in as a capital request and plan on replacing it July 1st.
With the same type of copier that we agreed on, or you have something?
Well, and the other thing
Lots
is,
of time to
I'm pretty sure
figure
these,
that out between now and June.
I'm pretty sure these state contracts, let me see. Yeah, they're good. This is effective from April 2011 to April 2014. That's weird.
Ben, can you just remind me the name of the previous vendor?
Existing vendor.
Copier Connection. So, and I know it's bad form to revisit something that's already been voted on, but I mean,
I'm fine
It
with
was
rescinding other votes.
3,500, it was 3,500 to purchase?
yes. And what we were talking about was, do we purchase or do we lease?
Right.
And we decided to purchase.
Right.
And I don't think we said we were going to purchase tomorrow.
We put no date on it.
But I
at all.
kind of said, like, well, if we're going to do it, why not do it? But then now I'm rethinking.
Right.
We did also talk about letting this one die or come close to it.
Right,
Before
right,
we went
right.
ahead with the other, so.
So why don't we make a motion to say, let's hold that in abeyance
Well,
due to new information, or do we reverse it?
I think
we
it's
talked
fine just to
about whether
hold
or not-
it.
Yeah, you can just put it in abeyance.
oh, we brought in a copier.
I think we,
Well, we were stuck with a $600 contract on the existing one, and it works.
Until it doesn't work.
Until
Right.
it doesn't
And then
work.
we've got nothing.
If the guy has a service contract on it, he has to make a good faith effort to.
That's the
But
thing,
if
yeah,
you
he can't.
can't find parts, you can't find parts.
Then I think he gives us equivalent age and, I think they would have to replace it. I don't have to look at the terms of the contract, but.
I should probably check the terms of the service contract.
Is
Because
it a
if he's-
mission critical piece of equipment? Can you go for 2 days without a copy?
Definitely,
He has to honor something.
yeah.
As a service, can we have no public comment?
Yeah. that's what
Given
we
that there's
did.
one at town hall that people can use.
Oh, okay, so in a worst case scenario, we have to send them
Just
to
send it
town
across
hall.
the parking lot.
And do we
Take it
have the
Yeah.
new one at Tech that's not really hooked up as a fax, and is that also make copies?
Our fax makes copies, the one at the kids' circulation desk is an all-in-one and makes copies. The new one in the tech room that was donated, we had problems getting it networked. So it's not
So
really
we can't
functioning.
make copies?
I think if we turned it on, it could make copies, yeah,
Okay.
So we have some sort of backup.
yeah.
So I would.
And when's the service contract up?
June 30th.
Oh, June.
June 30th.
Just April.
I think we should leave the previous motion in place at Pam's discretion, so that when something happens, Pam has the ability and right to act on it immediately, because we've already made the motion and we've allocated the funds to do that.
That's a good point, because if we walk out of here and it breaks tomorrow.
Right,
Right.
yeah,
All you
yeah,
have to do is make the call.
yeah.
Right.
So then I guess the other question is, do we want to consider, well, it's not,
I think the
I guess-
motion that we made was to buy a very specific machine.
right. It was to buy this,
From a particular vendor.
yeah.
So if this other guy comes up with a quotation, and it's something you actually want us to consider, we can revisit it at that time.
Right.
But
And there was a,
call when we made, that was at August?
I was just gonna pull up the notes to see if I can
Yeah.
find it.
I know it was
Is that what
shortly,
you're doing?
yeah.
Yes.
I thought it wasn't last month, I know, because Josh was here, and he wasn't here last month.
No, it wasn't that recent.
So it was-
John was in that conversation.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
since,
it's
Printer.
June or July.
Let's see.
since John.
$3,469 with 3 years of warranty and a couple of toners. We're leaning towards purchasing, blah, 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 motion.
No?
Well, the motion was, John Manning made a motion, Michelle seconded to purchase the copy machine described above using the Bishop bequest.
Okay, so it was a specific machine.
It was a specific
So if we
machine.
do want to consider something different, we need to rediscuss it. Yeah.
So I also thought that I was simplifying things because I know that the water department uses this company and I know from our IT people
Uses
where the
library.
IT people have worked with
The
the
new-
copier
new company.
people to get them working. So I assumed that it was like kind of a townwide thing when I called Copy Connection and I sort of, tried to say like, yeah, the town of Raleigh's moving towards this, da, da, da. And he was like, what? I have plenty of Raleigh accounts and was, as anyone
As
would
every
react
small
to be
business owner,
losing
yeah.
a customer, yeah. So,
So what if we revise the motion of August 19th to just clarify?
yeah,
Or
I don't
comparable.
think you need to do anything now, like Janet said, unless a more competitive quotes come in that we want to
He hasn't submitted the
consider.
quotation that he asked.
Yeah.
We haven't
Yeah.
considered it, so.
And there's no time on that, so I say we just let it,
Yep.
we
Till we
continue
need it.
as we're
Yeah,
going.
We'll have to revisit it if we don't spend it this year,
right.
so.
Well, and the other thing is, when we get down to talking about capital needs,
Right.
if we're waiting this long, maybe we wait till spring town meeting, or continue to plan to use the Bishop account.
It's such a, it's not a small amount of money, but relative to painting the building or an AV room or something.
Right.
It's one of our one of our smaller bills that we've discussed. And
Mhm.
the Bishop request is,
And I think we should leave it open now, just in case you need it in
Right,
December.
right.
not in
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
All right. Are you set for that?
Was that, I'm not sure how we got there from the, but, oh no, that was.
Oh, that was the next.
We moved on,
business.
yeah, website and copier, yep.
Okay, so new business.
Wait, I have a question for old business. I want to ask about the work that we did earlier this year regarding pass-through material. Should that be under new business or old business?
It wasn't on the agenda, nobody asked me to put it on the agenda.
So
So if you want to know next month's agenda, I can put it on.
Very well.
All right.
for our own information, I know one other time that we just, I don't know if it was the last meeting, we discussed maybe getting a new list so that we could compare the two. Do you know if that
No,
request
I
has been
don't
put
think
through?
so.
Okay. I know the last time we discussed it, that was like our next
Just we
steps
wanted
is
to
to
see if
compare
The
what
newspaper
has,
article had any
right,
effect. Yeah.
if anything has come off that list.
I'll get that from Amy before the next meeting.
Along with the Facebook page, I meant to send it to you, I don't know if it's helpful, but the American Library Association included a pin board of old, like a collection of old, very overdue library books. That might be worth sharing.
Oh, yeah,
On
that
our
would be fun.
Facebook page.
Right. I think you mentioned Facebook too.
Right.
As maybe the next step.
Right.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I have a 3-hour commute, I do not, there's a little more, too much Facebook in my life.
I have to tell you, I owed Topsfield a book recently, and they sent me a bill for it, and they are very good at follow-up. They were calling me every week saying, you can bring it in, you can bring it in.
Right.
So
Right.
it
See what
might be
kind
an
of service
option
you
for parent put. Well, yeah, I was kind of like, oh, I'll do it as long as possible and start tracking, but I did pretend. But that, I know we discussed.
What is the
Evergreen,
next
like,
step?
Yeah, what's the,
Yeah.
what do we want our process to be for
Right.
tracking this down?
And we talked about
down
certain
first?
thresholds, like if it's, if it's $4, it's probably not worth our time to chase them.
Right.
But if they owe $50, maybe certain
Yeah.
actions are followed, whether it's a phone call or a
Right.
follow-up letter or.
When something now, a new book, goes to billing, what's our process? We mail the bill,
So at
do we make a phone call?
At 14 days overdue, they get either an email or a letter. At 91 days overdue, no, at 45 days overdue, they get a second notice. And at 91 days overdue, they get a billing notice.
And is that,
That's automatically
Consortium.
generated by Evergreen.
so I had that book for 91 days overdue.
If you got a billing notice, then yeah, it was 91 days.
You were doing it as a learning
I'm
experience.
reading it. Okay, and then.
And then
what,
nothing.
and then we do
That's why I
Yeah,
started
that's what I was
discussing
really
this.
impressed that
After
they
that,
called
like,
and
there's
said-
nothing.
Yeah,
So
like, I
sorry
was
guys,
impressed
it's
that
not
they
on the agenda.
called,
Can we
but we're
table
not-
this for another time? But we have an agenda to get through. So it sounds like the policy committee meeting needs to meet after we have whatever the update is. So I put it on my notes to add it to next month's agenda. And if you want to put it in the action, well, actually, we don't want the policy committee to meet till we know
No,
what we're
but
addressing.
Michelle,
so.
will you have time to compare the new list with the old list?
If we get the new list.
Okay.
Who needs to provide the new list, Pam?
Amy has to ask Dave at MBLC for it, but Dave's out on sick leave, so I'm hoping that someone can go in and recreate it. It shouldn't be a problem.
If you say it, yeah. you can
Yeah,
do it.
someone should be able to go and rerun a report that's already been run, that's easy.
Can I assign a task to Michelle, to Amy?
You can assign it to me and I will delegate it to Amy.
Pam will have
Amy, ask Dave.
Okay.
George, you following along with everything with Evergreen and MBLC? Speak up if you have any questions.
I'll catch on to it.
Did you send him the?
I was watching on,
Yes.
I was watching on TV.
I'm only just getting a clue. I've been here
And
since October.
MBLC versus MBLC is always
Mhm,
difficult,
mhm.
so.
Okay, so Pam will have Amy request the overdue materials and get the list to Michelle.
to
Was there
compare.
another piece to that?
And
John,
then I-
what is your piece that you want addressed, just to follow up on that generically?
Kind of an analysis of what we did versus, like, it's about almost 5 months, I guess, maybe 6 months.
It's been a while.
How?
So,
What's our next?
kind of, was there any effect? Are things getting worse with the trend, et cetera, et cetera?
Mhm.
But, I have a whole slew of questions which I'll wait for next month.
All right, well, sorry.
No, no, we really didn't.
Yeah, it was on the agenda for a while and then it
It's,
fell off. Yeah.
When it's an open meeting, we have to stick to the agenda, so.
No,
Yeah, and then after that, after we get the updates, the policy committee will probably end up having to. But
So
that
you
can be
think
on-
that that will, so
That will be
next
on next
meeting, we'll put it on the
month's.
agenda, and
Yeah.
then in January, we'll have the policy subcommittee will have.
I mean, I don't know, it's really just,
It's more like workflow.
yeah, that's, I think that's Pam, that's like a service thing.
But it does have an effect on the PR of the library. I mean, some libraries use collections agencies, some libraries send police officers to knock on people's doors. I mean,
We didn't have one once, somewhere along the
you
line.
know, there are harsher steps that sometimes might need to be taken, and that, I think, would be a policy.
That would be a policy.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
You let us know if you're thinking of going now.
she's got stuff she's got to get out.
I'm not getting back to top speed.
Run!
She also has no sneaky tricks about finishing your Kindle book. All right, so we've already actually hit the report from special meeting under previous meeting minutes, so that's pretty much done. The action plan, Pam also sent that around. Does everybody have it or need a copy?
Oh, yes, you have it. Not much changed at all from the fiscal 15 plan. One thing that did change, goal 2, objective 2.1, the library will endeavor to find funding to increase open hours by 10% by fiscal 20. Yay, we
We've
did
done
it,
that.
we pat ourselves on the back.
George, also just a little bit of quick background on this. Every 5 years, we have to create a strategic plan for the next 5 years. But then throughout that 5 years, each year, we have to see how we're doing and what we plan to do within the next 1 year of that plan.
I want to amend what Janet said. We do not have to.
We don't have to.
We do not have to do anything, but there's certain incentives that the Board of Library Commissioners has encouraging libraries to do these yearly action plans and the strategic 5-year plans. One of which is, unless you have these on file, you're not eligible to apply for LSTA grants, which is
What we did our early reads from.
Library and Secondary, Library Services and Technology Act. It's federal money. We've had 3 of these grants to the tune of $5,000, $7,500, and $7,500. So it's a lot of work to do a federal grant, but Every
That's a lot of
3
money.
years or so, I can be talked into it.
We have to wait for her to forget.
It's true. It's true. No, but that's how we did rally reads. That's how we had the discovery kits. And then the first one we did was teens and tweens. So, I mean, that's really
That's
the
incentive.
That's the
right,
incentive,
Right.
yeah.
And it's not really a hardship to do them, obviously, so. So we met, the planning committee met and looked over where we thought we wanted to be as of right now and where we are as of right now, and we're doing pretty good.
Yep, and one follow-up from that meeting, we also looked at our action plan for fiscal 15 to see how on track we were. I mentioned this to you, Michelle. One thing we have not yet done, when we did our 2 most recent strategic plans, we used almost the same survey for the public.
Mhm.
So we wanted to go back and compare results from 2007 to 2013. That's our Excel whiz. Actually, it's all in PowerPoint. I could probably just look at the PowerPoint summaries.
There's not that much data in it.
Yeah.
By the time you're done manipulating the spreadsheet, so you can link them.
No, you
might
can
as
All
well
right,
just
so
do it.
I'll look at the PowerPoint and see if anything needs to be reported on that.
I mean, there's like, what, 10 similar questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were intentionally similar because
Yeah,
our
but
original
there's not
plan was
that
to
many.
measure it
Yeah.
Right.
5 years from now.
That's what we said in 2007 is, how will you evaluate this goal? Well, we'll do another survey.
Yeah.
So I'll take a quick look, and if I think it could use some more,
Yeah, no, yeah.
Analysis. Did everybody have a chance to look at this action plan? Because we do have to approve it, so it'd be good if we know what we're approving. Do you need to make a motion to accept it?
Or some people might be just looking at it. Okay.
oh, another thing I'm just looking at that I amended. Under objective 1.3, the Raleigh Public Library cooperates with Pinewood Elementary and Triton Regional Middle School to support student needs, as well as 3 private schools in town and several preschool early childhood centers. Are there others that I don't know about? We have, I'm just really, I'm wondering, is that accurate? Are there other super tiny schools?
As you were reading it, I was wondering.
I thought
why
the
we would do
three-
Why
the way
don't we
it's-
say all of them?
Well, that's what
I
I'm
mean, anyone
wondering.
willing to make a friend.
There's Clark and Montessori and Solstice. We don't really support Solstice's student needs, although they sometimes come down here, but it's more for entertainment. Yeah.
So by early childhood centers, are you including daycares?
Yes.
What about Parker River?
Parker River,
There's
just,
bright beginnings out on Route 1.
well, I guess I'm describing what we already do.
So do we want to limit to that, or why don't we just say as well as private schools in town and several preschools?
Well, I don't think there are more than 3, are
Oh,
there?
I see what you're saying. You're just talking specifically private schools as opposed to the preschools.
Right.
I have no idea, but there, I mean, there's, over the course of the next 5 years, we might get another.
Yeah.
I think the reason for putting the number in 2, though, is it's kind of like at least 3. Maybe we can't service every school that ever opens up in town, but we will service
But
that.
the 3 that have asked us for
Yeah.
partnership,
Mhm.
we've worked with, yeah.
They have asked us to?
Mm-hmm. Well, Solstice not really, but we would if they did.
Is it cleaner to just say as well as private schools in town and
Yeah.
preschool or
Just take the
private?
number out, yeah.
Take the numbers and the several out
Mm-hmm.
and just leave it that we'll,
Yep.
if they ask for help, we'll do what we can to help them.
Mm-hmm. I might say as well as local private schools and,
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in town necessarily.
And that way, if one of them decides that they don't want to partner with us, we're not
yeah.
not meeting the goal of 3.
Okay, so a little vaguer is probably better for that one.
Okay.
Let's just take all the numbers.
They're supposed to be measurable.
1.3. Okay. There's-
And they're supposed to have time frames too, but the
Supporting
nature of them
that.
really
Yeah.
don't, yeah. I mean, the action items are supposed to have time frames.
And some do, when we can. Does anybody have any questions on this action plan? I give a motion to accept it as amended.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, excellent. That can go off.
Yes, I'll get that in the mail. It's due December 1st at the Board of Library Commissioners, so.
We talked about the staff appreciation lunch, the lab order.
Mm-hmm.
Subcommittee assignments, this is our little nightmare. I just popped up what I have. George and Nikki and I talked about this a little bit after the Board of Selectmen's meeting, where we have a performance and compensation subcommittee and building and grounds, which you've already heard about a number of times. The ones that we have are performance and compensation, building and grounds, outreach and special events, long-range planning, policy and procedure, and disaster planning. If there are any of those that you have an interest in, that you would like to be part of,
I can also send you the document that sort of describes what each one does as well. I should have given you that at the same time I gave you the.
I don't think any of them are missing people. I think they're all.
no, they're actually all
staffed.
fairly well staffed, but we
Yeah.
do like, Aaron, I only have Aaron on disaster planning right now.
And just deleted her.
You do it.
Yeah, she's not a trustee.
And, so, it's not like a diary, you know, any of them, but
Yeah.
if any of them,
Think that.
you can give it a thought.
And you can attend any of the meetings that
Yes.
anyone have without committing to being on.
Right, so that is all the old and new business subcommittee reports. Outreach has Rowley Reeds and the Tenney Family Grant updates.
We've not met.
Okay.
We're trying
We
to
did, we
schedule-
met once, but that was not in the past month, I don't think.
Yeah.
Were
Okay.
were you
We
trying to
sent
set a
notes
meeting for
around
tomorrow?
possibly tomorrow, but I don't know that everyone replied to that. I only, unless they replied not to all. I think I only saw Amy's reply.
I can do it tomorrow, but do we talk, do you know what time?
I don't know that we finalized anything. We'll have to revisit that.
Well, I'm usually in yoga till 7.
Oh, right, that's right, okay.
That's why Wednesdays is ideal, because Amy works late on Wednesday, and I'm here late anyway for the yoga class.
Mm-hmm.
It's only ideal after
That's,
seven.
that's, yeah. Otherwise, we're asking Amy to give up another evening, you know, with her family to stay for a meeting. Yeah.
So, Wednesday, tomorrow night.
I can unfortunately.
We'll just
But
assign
feel
it
free
to
if you guys want to meet, because otherwise, it's next Wednesday, and that's the day before Thanksgiving, so I don't think,
No,
I don't think
no,
you're gonna
no,
get many-
no.
I don't think you're gonna get many takers
Yeah.
to meet at 7 on that day.
It's
So I
just the
apologize.
Three of us now, right?
Yeah.
Outreach. I think I can do tomorrow. We
I
can
mean, I
go
think it'd be
afterwards.
productive, you know, with Amy too, yeah.
Especially if it's about specifically Rowley Reeds. it's-
Yeah.
so. I have a very, very brief on what I was following up on the Tenney Grant. I spoke to, from MD's, Gregor, thank you. And he referred me directly to Boston Public Library, and they do the digitization for other libraries in the state. He says it is not absolutely required, but highly recommended that we become a member of Massachusetts, Digital Massachusetts.
Digital Commonwealth.
Digital Commonwealth, sorry, wow. So I talked to Pam, and she said she could squeeze that out of the budget, it's $100.
$100.
So,
But I did, if you notice on their website, the membership goes from July 1st to June 30th.
yes.
So I assume we wait and put that in fiscal 16 somewhere.
Shoot, I'm sorry, what's it called again?
Digital Commonwealth.
Digital Commonwealth.
I think it's could be
And that is
prorated after
a
January.
not-for-profit?
Oh, maybe.
I think.
What is, how would you describe Digital Commonwealth? What is it?
It's,
I'm writing a note to send you guys a link to it.
yeah,
Basically, any library or cultural institution that has digitized any
content.
content that they have, whether it's photographs or documents, or they can't do objects, but then,
You can take pictures.
yeah. it's all in, they all use a portal, the Digital Commonwealth, so someone can go to one site and search.
It's a shared repository, basically.
Yes, that.
And it's also, like I said, sort of the door into getting our stuff digitized. So we have talked about, for the Tenny grant, one of the things we talked about was the continuing indexing the town reports, which we mentioned Liz is interested in doing, but not now until after the first of the year.
She might not have a job.
She got a job on us, but she's still very interested in doing it. She just wants to adjust to the new job before. So she said she actually thinks it'll be a good winter project starting in January or so. So we both made a note to catch up again in January.
Are they charges for digitizing the
They
material?
do not. Bonus.
Bring it on. Go.
So we talked about actually, since we're going to have them indexed, digitizing the town reports.
The only thing is you have to wait till they're, like, they do it in a
You
queue.
go on the
Yes,
And I
go on
won't-
the list.
Do you have to pay postage to send it there?
I've got that for you.
Okay.
I'll take it there.
Yeah.
But the other thing we've talked about is the street listings that the town hall has on their shelf, all the street listings back to 1940-something. Digitizing those, because those are a great tool for genealogy and history, which is kind of what the Tenny Family Grant is coming out of. And I also dropped an email to the Historical Society to see if they had anything that we might work with them
Yeah.
to get digitized. So that's all there is on that. And that Liz wants to put off till the beginning of the year. So,
Okay, so in terms of the grant application,
Where are we with that?
We haven't really.
you sent a note to the
I
foundation.
sent an email to the foundation just letting them know that we were still interested in exploring this opportunity and that we were collecting some information. But I kind of feel like, Janet, what you came back with is that none of this stuff really costs anything.
So the only thing is that if we choose to write the grant for the indexing, then we have to get Liz to take the stipend.
Right.
Well, we also discussed the possibility of having a class or mending
Mhm.
key books that maybe need some attention, so there may be
Well,
other
that's an
options
interesting
that we
idea. We did
have.
talk about that, but didn't you say that was almost too expensive for the $500 that we probably would have?
I mean, if you go through NRDCC, the Northeast Document Conservation Center, yeah, to do like a true restoration is very expensive. But if we did some, smaller binding projects, maybe.
Okay, so we can talk about that.
The problem is with your truly historic and unique things, you don't want to just bind them at all. You want,
100%.
yeah.
What does it, how far behind are we on town reports, getting those found?
We're keeping that up. We have like, but we should send in the
The most
most
recent
recent
batch.
4 or whatever.
Okay, so that's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we can talk about
And
that
that's,
some more.
yeah, that's not $500, that's pretty small.
Okay. So the grant is not written because we don't know what we're asking for yet.
Yeah. We had a meeting, we came up with all these ideas.
And now they're all free. So, there's something on policy, building and grounds. Pam also asked me to put the bollard lights in the patron calendar back on.
Well, and this is because the capital needs form is actually due last Friday, but I asked for more time since I knew we were meeting today.
can you remind me of the bollard lights?
The lights out here on the wall.
The walkway.
Short
Walkway.
tubes.
Okay, the bollard lights have never really worked properly. They're not sealed right, water gets in them. The one in the middle has been repaired 3 or 4 times, and now the one next to it is not working well. Our electrician has a quote to replace them for $825 each. That's not including his time.
And replace them with the same thing.
Replace them with the same thing and do his best to seal them up better so they don't continue to fail. Last year, when we put in our capital needs request to the town, I asked for money to replace the bollard lights completely, just tear them out, get something new in there. Obviously, we want 4 matching ones versus just replacing the 2 broken ones. And I'm sure many of you know, our selectman Bob Marriott also worked for the light department for many, many years. He had an idea on a way to fix them, and he said, why don't you have your electrician do that instead? And when I ran it by the electrician, he said, no, that won't work because, so now we're kind of back where we were. So the document I just handed out is last year's capital needs form, and this is kind of a new thing that the town is doing. They asked us last year to look ahead 5 years for our facility and technology needs. They're in agreement that they're gonna buy us 4 computers a year, like that's kind of a done deal. And these other things, we don't really know when we're gonna need them, but sometime in the next 5 years, we may or may not need them. So we've already painted the exterior of the building, that one's done too. So, I mean, I guess just the direction I need is, do we try again for town capital to replace the bollard lights? And related to our earlier discussion, do we put in for the new copy machine as well?
Just a quick note, when we talked about this at the earlier meeting briefly, on the 10th, we also talked about, instead of replacing the lights that are, or replacing them with something similar, we talked about using ones similar to the ones on town, on the common, the more of a streetlight version that looks down on the walk.
Well, I don't know why, we have streetlights out here. If we were gonna do that, we would match them, I would think.
Or just normal streetlights?
Yeah, don't they go
The
up
ones
and
up
down? Yeah,
in the back.
in the parking lot.
Okay, one of those never works either.
Yeah, I know.
But those, they're actually very similar to these, aren't they? To these bollards?
Do they?
They go up and come down, don't they?
They're hanging off the building,
Yeah.
not on a pole, that's all.
Well, there's some on poles and some on the building.
I haven't noticed the ones on the poles. But they're
There's
all-
one on each corner. There's like 3 going down the back, and they're all around the parking lot.
But those are the sodium lights versus the LEDs, which are on the common. Big cost savings, lower maintenance, et cetera, et cetera.
For
I think
which?
For the new,
The newer ones.
LEDs. I think if, especially with the front of the building, it would look nice to have some uniformity with the front.
With the town, yeah.
The
Yeah,
town.
it looked better with the same type that they have along the commons, and the digital lasts forever. It's, it's an upfront cost, but it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah.
So I guess I would need to do some more research on what those cost.
But if we're gonna ask the town to absorb it,
We'd still have to know,
it's,
obviously.
it's part of a joint, well, it's part of a joint driveway with the town hall. They insist.
Well,
on
they
that.
come up our sidewalk.
Right, but it's, that driveway was a joint driveway with the town hall, so I have no compunction with asking them to put in those lights and pay for them.
Yeah, that's justified. I mean, are we that tied to the fact that they have to be bollard, the question that they have to be bollard lights because we wrote the word bollard before lights in the front walkway?
No, it just says replace the bollard lights, it doesn't say replace them with new bollard lights.
I can only assume that when they planned out the building, they used tall lights in the back and short lights in the front for a reason. That's why I was thinking, oh, you just have short lights in the front, because you're illuminating the walkway, not the parking lot.
That's true, that the neighbors might have a different reaction to.
That's a good point.
Well, of course, we want to have a recommendation. The
And-
request is simply, can we have money to replace the lights?
And now that I think about it, if we're gonna
We'd still have to
replace
go
light
through-
fixtures,
We're gonna have to go through
historic
the historic
district,
district.
yeah.
Either way.
Well, you would have to assume, isn't the common restoration, wasn't that a historic restoration?
Yeah, that would have had to go through that as well.
But you would think that
If
they
they've approved
already
it there,
approved that,
yeah.
we're trying to match this
Yeah.
ginormous.
No, we're gonna have to go
project
through it
that they just
regardless.
approved. Yeah, but hopefully it'll just be a meeting.
Yeah.
Either way, unless we put exactly what's there now. Which is
Right,
working.
right. And he's also willing to try to just repair it again, which would, we're still paying for his time, but not the $800,
What cost would it be to repair?
however long it takes him and whatever little parts he needs.
So you said there's 2 of them.
There's 2
There's
out
2
now,
of
yeah,
them.
and one in the back here, but those are,
Is it the same problem in the back? That one that never
no,
works?
the one in the back, it's usually the ballasts.
Just a thought, if it's gonna be in the historic district, et cetera, can we use CPA funds?
Are we old enough?
Doesn't matter, it's a
Right.
historic
Doesn't matter.
It's a
district.
historic district.
It's a historic district, it's a public facility, there is money piling up in there. They are looking for reasons to spend it, and I said, why not?
Well, match the rest of the
Yeah,
town.
it's community preservation, but it's preserving the community, not the property.
But it's the community's property, and it,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I'm sure they use those funds with commons.
So let me ask this question, if we want to look into lots of different, because we have to have this request in by yesterday. Do we want to look into lights as a bigger question and address it later?
It sounds like we kind of need some more
I
information.
think it sounds like we have a lot of ideas, all of them sound good to me.
Mhm.
But it also seems like it's more of a question of what the town wants to do than what we want to do. So maybe we look to the town to make a recommendation.
Well, we're going to have to either ask for a capital request or ask for a CPA funds request. We have to decide which one we're going for.
The capital,
Yeah.
how much of the town's budget?
Either.
See, if we ask for the town's budget, they can choose to use CPA funds. We can't request CPA, we can just,
Yeah, we can.
can you directly? Then, I'd say we just ask the town, and let them, you know, we'll
Figure
just
out where it's-
suggest it to them, you know.
If we put it in as capital needs, it'll go as a bond. They put all together all the department's requests and just have one vote at town meeting.
So if we put it in as a capital needs request, it's not probably going to go through CPA funds.
And will it not go until May?
And it won't go till May.
Right.
So I don't know how to request CPA funds. I don't know what the policy is or process.
I know I get the memos when their deadlines are coming up with the, we
My
looked at
recollection is you just submit a request, and then the CPA, I did this in Salem, and the CPA committee decides what projects they want to
But that also has to wait till town meeting, right? I thought that, because I know at town meeting in May, we have voted
a
on.
town meeting with the
Yeah,
recommendation.
with the
of what
recommendations.
request-
So either way, it's gonna be May before we get new lights.
unless we
Unless we pay for it
choose
ourselves.
to do either
Yeah.
a repair or replace two
Right.
of them.
And pay for it ourselves. Over, replace the two of them with the same thing.
Or we could, and the
Well-
other thing is, we can ask the electrician for a quote, for 4 new ones. But I think if we change the design, I think it has to go to historic district.
Oh, it absolutely does, yeah, yeah. But even if we just replace this with exactly what we have, assuming we can still get them, do you want to put it through capital needs, or do you want to, I mean, I thought we were talking about,
I think we still want to put it through capital needs,
Right.
because either way, we've already requested, we've already outlined the request.
it's money that we're looking for, not a, I mean, the approval is a different discussion, I guess.
Right, but I guess, if now we're talking about different styles of lights, then we need
We need more time.
more quotes.
Yes. But we don't have, what is this quote based on? The replacing, the $5,000. What is that based on? Do you remember? It's been a while.
I'm sure I did some rudimentary research.
Given that it would impact town hall, I kind of feel like let town hall figure it out, make a recommendation, like we, if we
They
just
are
go and
our
we say.
rights on their own.
Yeah, I disagree
Town hall
with
is
that.
not going to make a recommendation of them.
I want,
I shouldn't say that definitively. It is, they are our property, basically.
Okay.
I think we should decide what we
What we
would like
want.
the answer to be,
Yeah.
and then make a recommendation. I don't want to just throw our hands up and say, someone change our lives.
So we can still put through a $5,000 request for capital needs and try to figure out in the meantime what we're actually
Well,
asking
and the
for.
other thing, based on
What kind of
what happened last year, I'll be invited to a meeting with probably Debbie and a couple of the selectmen and Bill, and we'll kind of go over item by item. That's what happened last year, when they were like, a home theater system, Pam, really? And I was like, really? We're the town's living room. So we could certainly, there's time to clarify. I understand them wanting to get a heads up on this, but budget season isn't really until February. This is something they can kind of get out of the way ahead of time. But there will be discussions before the warrant is written.
So is your preference that we put in the request for lights on the front walkway, and then we, in the meantime, figure out what exactly we're asking for.
I mean, I could just cross out the things we did this year and turn this exact thing in again and say, look, these are still on the table, we still want all these things. But then the question's gonna come, what do you realistically want
Right.
to ask the taxpayers for next year?
Right, which is why we're trying to figure that out now.
Right.
But,
So, I mean, it shouldn't take more than a phone call to the light department to find out the cost of those, the new ones.
we can change the dollar amount on this
Mhm.
before we submit it. Okay. Is that what you want to do? I mean, is the lights your focus? Is that really what you want to fix?
Out of all the other.
Out of all these things that are on here, because I know we talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
You know, we've approved this list,
Right.
so whichever item you feel is most important for the library.
I'd like to see it, you know, I mean, every time anybody drives by there at night, they're like, what's up with the broken lights?
Yeah. Okay, so can you find out at least if $5,000 would cover it if we did go ahead with getting approval on the new lights? And
So that's the inclination I'm sensing, is to wait till Springtown meeting versus
Pay for it
trying
ourselves
to
and do
patch
it
them
ourselves.
now, yeah.
Can they do it
Well,
this time of year
let's
with
try to see
freeze
what
thaw?
the repair is gonna be.
Well, the other thing that we
That'll
discussed,
buy some time.
right, but we can still get them repaired, but the other thing we did discuss on the 10th was, once it snows, they're buried.
Yeah,
These short lights, while they are nice, low-profile lighting, don't do us any good.
well, I
After
mean,
snowstorm,
you need like 3 feet of snow before
Yeah.
they're buried.
But the snow cure helps with that.
Yeah.
Late January.
Yeah, because I mean, I've got mine, it's
Best.
got snowbanks.
Not
Move snow bankings.
Right.
So that is a consideration with keeping what we have too, is whether or not they're effective after. And if it's a
I
nice.
mean, are
it's
they
a nice-
getting damaged by the snow blower and the shoveling and the weather?
No, well, they're getting damaged by leaking water, so
Oh.
if they're buried in snow, yes.
It can be good.
Well, it's more the wires that
That's
are
right,
going
too.
underground.
It's the wires
to
underground that are
them.
the problem.
Yeah,
So let's say that we do want to put through the request for lights.
okay.
That's what we want to
Yeah.
focus on, and then we'll figure out what exactly we are requesting.
So I'll keep this whole document, but I'll like put in bold the
Yeah.
things that we feel are most priority.
Mhm.
Does
Now,
does
just-
that require a motion?
No, because we've approved this list, I think.
Yeah. A 7-year-old snow thrower, I have no idea, is that like, what kind of lifespan does a snow thrower have?
Depends on how
I
much
have
use
them
it's
for
getting.
15 years.
It's mine's 1-year-old.
Okay, so that's not urgent, we'll hope to get some more.
Then
And
gave
this
it to
is
somebody, he was still using it.
Okay, and we do, we do the maintenance, like get it tuned up and stuff like that, so.
And this is a Husqvarna, they're pretty good.
Has Richard had to patch it? Has he had to?
He did, he like took it to the welding shop and had something,
I was kidding when I said patch.
something got bent or, yeah.
Just FYI for the light post, these are similar, very similar to what's out there, $1,300. So, you know.
So 5,000 would buy them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the installation, so it's in the ballpark.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can bump it up to 6, that's easy.
What did you search to get those that quickly?
And if we did something like that, we'd probably need some landscape repair as well.
I don't know how much they'll have to dig up, I don't know if they're trying
Right. Use
to
this.
fix the, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
put the
know.
sod back down in.
Yeah, they
Or
pull it
seed
out, pour concrete footing in, and put it in, secure it to the old location.
Mhm.
So we might want to say like $1,000 for landscaping in connection with that.
You reckon 1,000 again?
Okay.
I have no idea how much landscaping would be, it's very easy for me to.
George, do you know, could they just put it on there's gonna be something that the bollard lights are mounted on, do you know if they could just?
It depends on the base of the replacement. I mean,
Yeah.
they may have to take up what's already there and replace it with larger.
Oh, it's on like a cement
Right, yeah.
platform
So
thing.
we
yeah.
would.
But if we're having
Yeah.
problems too
Right.
about wires, we may want to tear it up and
Mhm.
see what's going on underground anyway.
Mhm.
And it may have to be, it has to be run by the building inspector because with the frost, I mean, when you have putting in just a slab is, you have to get down below the frost line. So
Right.
you don't want it to cock and twist.
Right.
Especially now that they're taller, we
Yeah.
really should.
All right, so
All right,
we'll focus
so-
on lights and figure out the details after?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, that was kind of painful.
And we put in here, pie in the skies, I always do networked color copier / scanner, but we kind of decided we really just need like a workhorse, basic black and white, so I'll adjust that and bold that as well.
And what's up with the patron counter? I thought somebody asked me
I
to
thought
put that
I'm
on here.
looking at it and doing anything else beyond that.
Just doing some research and
I did, but I
consumer.
haven't done anything else.
Okay.
I mean, do you want me to still look at more, or
Um,
do we want to go forward? on
make a
that?
recommendation, I guess, or give us a couple of choices.
I'll do small, medium, large.
Yeah.
Expensive, wicked expensive, over and out.
Need capital needs, funding.
Capital ones.
Is there any update on the disaster recovery, John? I didn't know if you-
Yeah, actually, I get into the plan, just kind of knocking around there a little bit. I still, from the, one of the subcategories, the employees or whatever the list is, it deleted old people, there were people in there from.
Did I send you a staff list? Was I
Yes.
supposed to send you a staff
You-
list?
you
I
did.
did, okay.
So I did a staff list, I haven't added any of them yet, but I deleted a whole bunch,
Yeah.
including Erin. She's the first one who got it, I was like, oh yeah, she's gone, and I was starting to just go through the list, so I've been in, started on it. Biggest issue I have is I haven't figured out how to print the whole thing in, but
I don't think you can until the end. Like, you have to hit complete, and then it makes your PDF for you. It's been a long time since I looked at it.
yeah, so I didn't want to mess anything up, so I just stayed in 2 or 3 sections that I started, so I started working on
Yeah.
it.
I think also Erin would print out a section at a time. Like, I know she printed out a section and gave to me that was like the IT contacts. I'm not sure that I ever got back to her.
Yeah, it's in there,
Mhm.
anti-contacts, and you can look at the names, but, yeah, there's a whole bunch. So what I'll probably do is I bump into things, I'll send an email and say, is it still good, still not good, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll just revalidate, basically refresh the plan.
Great.
Slowly, but
Yeah.
that day job gets in the way.
I know, they're patient. How many kids in college, right?
2.
Just when you retire, you won't have any time to do anything.
I heard that from
Looking forward
someone.
to it.
I will not be bored. I'm aware of that. We don't have anything on planning, and probably won't if Josh continues to be as busy and I continue to be as busy as we've been, so. Sorry, we're
Planning.
thinking of policy, that's
Yeah.
policy, sorry. Planning, we don't really have anything because we just approved the plan. There isn't really any, there was no November Friends meeting because the date would have been Veterans Day. We already talked about the things that they're sponsoring and such.
They are meeting in December.
Yes, December
9th, yes. They weren't going to, but I think because they missed November, they decided they would.
Okay. For the record.
They are, as far as I know, they're still looking for someone to chair the book sale. So if you know anyone who would be up for like a 2-month project,
Michelle has the binder and she's ready to turn it over.
she has it down to a I mean, she has everyththing anyone could possibly need. She has timelines, she has press releases, she has volunteer lists.
Is she?
She is like a gang of one. I mean, she's all the fundraising she did for the.
Is she looking for a project?
She doesn't have anything right now, so I just said, you probably need something.
Is she gonna think of May?
What's that?
But it's in spring.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know there's a little lull in the fundraising right now, so there's an opportunity, a window of opportunity, if you want to get
Who did you suggest?
a friend of ours, Gisette Brenda.
You've mentioned her to me before.
I know I was trying to talk her into the Friends, but she's a nurse and she wanted to kind of screw me out. So,
That's what
I just wanted to give a pitch just that I've noticed, and I should stand up and say something. But with the story time and the children's events that happen on Wednesday, it's mostly stay-at-home parents that are bringing their kids there. And they certainly utilize library services. It's time for some payback, and I just feel like it's worth taking a few minutes in that forum and saying, hey, you guys who use the library so consistently every week for free, what about Friends? What about doing Friends of the Library?
I know Anna does that from time to time. I'll get the notice that was in the newsletter to Anna, and I'll ask her
To mention,
read that, yeah.
That's how I got suckered into being a trustee.
You mean-
Like, I gotta get back to
Sucker.
my daughter's destroying the library, I better do something.
Yeah, but that is definitely, and I think too, it's like, when kids start school, people have maybe a little more time, like, that is right there at the time to grab them, yeah.
Yeah, and their kids, I mean, they're at the library anyway, why not?
Before they realize they have to make cupcakes and go on field trips. I know there were a couple of times, I think, that, I know Nancy talked about it, I don't know if she did it or staff did it, but we talked about putting the big easel up with big Friends
Oh, yeah.
information right in front of the door.
Anytime the friends sponsor an event, that sign comes out of the closet and gets prime
Real
space.
estate.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the basket raffle just started last week.
New baskets are coming in, they're gonna be put out tonight.
When you send out a press release, make sure to include Amy Leiden, because I found out that's how things are getting onto the town website and the selectmen's announcements. It's Amy Roderick has been including Amy Leiden, and she sends her press releases. There was some questions
So
about
she
that
adds
last
them on
month.
there, right?
Anticipated.
That's great. Good. How many did you end up with?
There's new ones in there, so I need to do another count, but I think we're over 15. I know there are more coming, still to
Nice.
come in, and right now, we're definitely over $1,500 in prizes, possibly 16 or 1,700.
That's
So it's on track to be even bigger than last year, which was even bigger than the year before.
And we can coordinate the Facebook posts on that, like we took some pictures.
Yeah, I still
and
need to do
did a
that.
little-
When they're all in, I can have a better
Mhm.
sense of how to plan which
Yeah.
ones will go out on Facebook and the best way to highlight them all.
But if you get a chance to just maybe I'll pull your new flyer and put something up.
I'll be updating it tonight because we've got new baskets.
Okay, so just send me the electronic file, please.
I shared that on
Tonight,
Facebook.
Well, I think we put on Facebook that we were soliciting baskets.
Yeah, that's what I shared.
We haven't yet announced, they're here. Yeah.
I'm hoping that'll be in town common tomorrow, but I'm not sure if any of it is.
So,
Do you want to go through
action items, if you want to blast through those.
Pam will have Amy request an overdue materials list and get that to Michelle. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not at the top of the page. There's more, but wait, there's more. Building and Grounds Subcommittee to make a recommendation on which sprinkler bid to go with. Joshua knows the references on both, the two references, and so we want to ask for his opinion. Pam will confirm if the painters will be leaving extra paint. Oh, Pam will. Sorry. Pam will reach out, follow up with the current vendor to see about a quote for the copier, a new copier. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm expecting one. The way the conversation ended, we talked about our needs and,
He said he would send one.
yeah.
But we say Pam will report at the next meeting and whether we receive her quote. Or do we want to just put it on the agenda for the next meeting and there's no action item? So the action is just to add it to next month's meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay, Janet gets it.
Okay, wait a
But
minute.
there may or may not be an update.
Yeah,
So
we
just
agreed
copy
to
our
continue to do what
Yeah,
we
copy
were
our
doing.
update. I'll just put copy our update on there. Okay.
Yes. Rally's is meeting tomorrow
At 7?
at 7.
Without John?
Without John.
So
Unless
we
you,
got-
you like video conference or anything?
Yeah.
No, I'm flying out to Oregon. I don't got video conference.
That would make it difficult.
So then Pam will request, we'll have Amy request the original materials list. And action analysis of how we've approved and our going forward strategy. Who's doing that?
And me, if it's easy, and Michelle, if it's more complicated. She's way better at Excel than I am.
Okay. Pam, are you going to share the date with us of the staff appreciation?
Yes,
Okay.
as soon as it's settled.
Pam will resubmit the department capital needs form with an emphasis on light replacement and copier. John Manning will give us a recommendation for patron counters. And that's it. Did I miss anything? For anyone?
I'm gonna call the light department and find out, John found a pretty decent one. I'm gonna ask Anna to solicit a book sale chair at tomorrow's story time. I'm going to email the subcommittee list to George so he can ponder which he'd like to participate in. And I'm going to mail the action plan to the Board of Library Commissioners.
Michelle, are you also going to follow up with somebody about the library sale, the book sale, to see if they would be interested?
No.
Okay.
Well,
John mentioned someone. Do you want me to talk to Josette?
Yeah, I'll mention it to her too, but.
You mentioned it first.
Oh, okay, sure.
Do I want to name names?
No.
No, just a possible book sale chair.
I've asked a couple of people who said, oh yeah, I could do that, it's easy.
Handle the package before they say no.
No, those people are doing
Uh,
it. Is that easy?
And to submit.
This is the department capital allocation of funds, but it's
Is that it?
I think so.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?